Do I look good, Makoa? I hope you're editing this and you love me. Welcome back to another episode of the Monarch Social Podcast, where we discuss all things digital media marketing. Today, I am super excited to have someone in the studio that we've worked with for a long time, Ginny Hoyle of United Way of Southeastern Idaho.
You got it.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, so we have talked about United Way on our podcast multiple times. We can tell the story how I got involved with United Way, but I want you to introduce yourself first and what you do at United Way.
Sure. I'm Ginny Hoyle. I am the
You're going to want to speak a little closer to your mic.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry.
You're good. Ginny Hoyle, and I am the Director of Communication and Outreach at United Way of Southeastern Idaho.
You just have such a soft voice.
And then gentle.
you lean way back, and I'm like, nope, you got to speak closer to the mic.
Okay. Got it.
Anyways, one more time. What do you do there?
I am the Director of Communication and Outreach at United Way of Southeastern Idaho.
And what is that? Like, what do you specifically do for outreach or communications?
So essentially, I manage all of the content. So whether it's written, whether it's shared in social media, I help contract out for things that we can't do, like videography. Wink.
That's
us. So I handle any PR, any media, any of the things that need doing regarding communication.
So basically a marketing director.
Correct.
Okay. So are you making like the Facebook posts and Instagram posts?
Totally.
Do you have an Instagram?
We do.
Oh, okay.
We do. So we have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Nice. And how long have you been with United Way now?
I just hit my 2-year mark in June. And you and Makoa actually predate my time there.
We do. I remember when you were the new lady in town.
Yes,
newbie.
Yeah.
Me and Koa, we had an office in Salt Lake, and in the middle of the pandemic when everyone was closing down, I'm such a, I don't know. When everyone goes left, I like to go right, So everyone was like closing down their businesses, and I was like, screw this. I'm going to open up a business. I'm going to open up a second office.
Lean in.
I'm going to lean into it, right? And I think that was like one of the best things that we could have done for our business, Monarch Social, because I went up to Idaho, Pocatello, and we got an office there at the Huddle building. That's right next door to United Way.
Yep, stone's throw.
And Miss Wendy, and what's Wendy's title?
So Wendy Ames, she's our Director of Community and Donor Engagement.
Yeah. So she walked over and met me, and it was like the first day I was there getting our office.
Yeah, and she actually thought you worked at that
she thought I worked at Huddle.
She did.
And I was like, nah, dog. Let me tell you what I do.
She told me you showed her around and taught her everything, and then she found out that you actually do videography.
Well, she asked for a tour, and my cousin Jordan, who's been on the podcast as well, he's the guy that fixes everything, all electronics. It was kind of his job at the time to be like the front desk person.
Right.
And he had stepped away. So I felt like that cousin obligatory, okay, I'll show you what this place is.
There you are, leaning in again.
Just going all in on it. And so I gave her this little tour, oh, this is Huddle. Oh, by the way, I don't work here. I do videos here. And so we were speaking, and what happened is that she showed us some of your older videos, and I didn't like them. I didn't think it really captured what United Way was about. And so the rest is history. We started doing videos for you guys.
Yeah, that's right. And it's interesting that you started your business in Idaho right at the time that the pandemic was happening, because for United Way, that was crunch time. There were a lot of people who were struggling and out of work. And so United Way kind of fills in those gaps and helps, community members in need. And so it was a huge moment for us. And so we actually did need your services in a major way at that point.
No, and speaking of that point, Ginny, tell us what United Way is and what does United Way do even? Because I kind of jumped the gun on that because I just assume I've worked with you guys for so long.
Right. Yeah.
I know.
You're super familiar.
But tell our listeners, what is United Way? What do you guys do there?
So United Way is, I think, a very unique nonprofit. So we're a full nonprofit, and we work with powerful partners to raise funding to help community members in need. So families and individuals who are working, so they're employed, but they're not making enough money to make ends meet. So they're above the poverty level, so they don't qualify, for services that you would get if you did qualify. But they don't make enough to make ends meet. And at least in Idaho, I'm not sure about Utah, but at least in Idaho, that's if you go down a street with a neighborhood, it's 2 out of 5 houses.
Wow.
So 2 out of 5 houses, they are struggling. They are working long hours and they just don't make enough
to make
the ends meet.
And you're saying, but they're not in the poverty line, so they're not for some of the programs that they can qualify for being,
Right.
poverty. So you guys help kind of that middle, bridge the gap.
Exactly. Bridge the gap. And, that, I think that is a really important point because, it is a huge number of people. We cover Southeastern Idaho at our United Way, and it's a huge number of our friends and neighbors. And it could be situational. We have so many people who use United Way's services through our nonprofit partners who have never asked for anything. They get hospitalized or something happens, they're out of work, and suddenly they're in the position where paycheck to paycheck isn't cutting it anymore. And they need some help with utility or rent or food bank. So that's who we partner with to help community members who are in need.
So when you say nonprofit
Partners.
Yep. What are some of can you name some of those?
Yeah, you bet. So we work with 26 nonprofit partners, and they're vetted and trusted by United Way. And so the food bank, Idaho Food Bank, for example, Aid for Friends, which is our homeless shelter in Southeastern Idaho. We work with all kinds of health partners, the Pocatello Free Clinic, and they are the ones that we have them apply for grants that we use from our fundraising that we do each year. And then they use that money to help their services or help their clients through their services.
Yeah, us for Monarch, we've had the opportunity to work with those people because we're doing videos for you.
Yeah.
But highlighting them.
Yeah.
And so those are some of our favorite experiences that we've had because, we love all our clients. Don't get me wrong. We love our clients, but there's something very special when you're working in the type of work that you guys do.
Yes.
You can only film a product like salsa.
Right.
So many times and be like, okay, right. How do we highlight this salsa product? Right.
Yes.
But when we work with you guys, it feels so fulfilling. Wow, we're actually making change. We're actually changing lives, and we're not just here to help you guys sell a product. We're no, we're helping you guys, helping your community become aware of what's happening in their backyard.
Exactly, so that we can all work together to make a difference. And you're part of that when you create a video for us that we then use to get the word out about the need in our community, and that gets shared. Then that's all comes together to create a greater good, really. And I know what you mean about it fills up it's cup filling, right?
Yeah. It feels like you're making a difference, and it feels
exactly.
And then when you meet those people, there's so many people that come to mind when we worked with Meals on Wheels.
Yes.
When we went up there and we filmed the housing stuff with SICA. Mm-hmm. And what does SICA stand for? Do you remember?
It's Southeastern Idaho Community Action Agencies.
And they help with housing.
They do utility assistance, housing, and the Meals on Wheels program is actually run through SICA in Southeastern Idaho.
Yeah, and so those experiences, where we went to the senior center, and we helped them get ready for Meals on Wheels, and they were making the meals there, and then we went out with them, and then we went to Soda Springs and did the same thing there.
Yes,
the people that we met there were just amazing.
Yeah,
I love there's something very special with the people that you guys work with.
Yeah, no, we're so lucky. Our nonprofit partners are incredible. And, I think because you and Makoa, went out and saw some of the people that they were serving as well, right? And I think
Makoa did for sure. Makoa actually followed them with the camera. Yes. I tried to stay back sometimes so it didn't feel so intrusive.
Right.
But yeah, Makoa got to meet some really, nice, loving people.
Yes. And I think that's something that we forget sometimes. We're in our day-to-day world. We're going to work. We're coming home. And we forget that these are real people. These are real neighbors and friends and, grandparents who the Meals on Wheels person, for example, might be the only person they see that day. Mm. And it might be the only way that they get a nutritious meal that day. Mm-hmm. And when you get more involved in volunteerism and nonprofit work, or when you see it and experience it, it is really touching and you really feel good about the work you're doing. It's kind of the point you're making, right? Like it matters.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to, I think, as a community, remember that this could happen to any of us. You know, we could get in a car crash and get out of work. And it's important that we have community who comes together and supports people when they need it.
I completely agree. You know, I wish that it makes me wish that I was more involved in my own community down here in Salt Lake, you know.
There's no time like the present.
There's no time like the present. So one of the things that you said about volunteering and,
Yes.
and you know, and you get that feeling, you guys recently had was it National Volunteer Day?
Yes. So with United Way Worldwide, so we are a chapter of the big United Way. And so Worldwide United Way does a day of action each June.
Day of action. That's
yes,
right.
Day of action. And so the idea behind that is one full day of volunteer work. So you bring people in, volunteers from the community, just, you know, members of your community who volunteer to come and do whatever needs doing. So like for us, for example, we did painting at the senior center, or painting at the local zoo. We did the senior center. We had people doing yard work at the domestic violence shelter.
How many volunteers do you think showed up for that day for you guys?
Yeah, it was, honestly, it was incredible. It was the first day that we've done it, or the first year that we've done it, and we had 150 volunteers.
That's huge.
Huge.
Especially for Pocatello.
Yes, and that was
I would be impressed if 150 people showed up at like a Salt Lake thing, you know, but like a Pocatello,
appreciate that. Yeah.
You get 150 people show up,
Yeah.
you're doing something right.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. And, you know, it was the goal for us to not only help our nonprofit partners who needed, you know, the whatever work we were doing that day. Like I personally served meals at a senior center in Caribou County that day. And so you got to choose. So it made it really easy for a member of the community who maybe has never volunteered for anything, or at least not recently, or didn't know how to do it. It made it really easy for them to just show up, you know, get the t-shirt and figure out, how do I do this? And then they get to, you know, be a part of that and feel good and feel like they're helping the community, because they are.
My brain is racing with questions for you. Is the first one is you being with the outreach and the communications.
Yeah.
What was United Way doing to be able to get that type of response? How did you generate that type of response? Was it a social media thing? Was it a email thing? How did you guys get people involved?
Honestly, anything like that, when we have success in our events, and thanks to Wendy especially, she's, you know, coordinator for our events, we are able to really sell out. If it's a fundraiser, we've been able to reach really high numbers because of A, the quality of the event, and B, the reason behind it. So if we really express the why of what United Way does, people understand it, right? And they want to be a part of it. And so for just in terms of marketing, right, we did quite a few things. There was direct outreach for our nonprofit partners to set up the projects. There was a lot of meetings with our other volunteerism partners who helped coordinate all of that. And then on my end, for social media, you know, it was just a matter of graphics, creating the graphics. And then we did a social media ad for it as well, just to make sure that people in the area saw it.
They knew about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there was a little sign up with a call to action to sign up for the day. And people came out. It was amazing. Our community is so incredible.
What would you say? I mean, this might be like the same exact question, but what would you say how do you get people educated about what United Way does in Idaho?
Yes.
And then how do they support you guys? Like, are you finding people in the community to get involved through, are they finding you through like social media stuff? Mm-hmm. Is it partners that are, you know, telling people about United Way and what you guys do? Or like, how are people finding you?
Well, I appreciate that question. And I think it's an interesting one, because I feel like a lot of pieces have been moving in time for us to get to this exact moment in time. Mm-hmm. With our new CEO, she's been there over a year now. She's incredible. She actually was the former CEO of Sika that you mentioned earlier. Oh. And she worked there for over a decade and is just a super powerful leader. And then we have a team of women. We're all women, 9 of us. And it's just, honestly, it's just a powerhouse team. We all...
I love your team. I love your team. And Cody does too. I can speak for him. Like,
thank you guys. We love you too. Yeah, it's I think it all pointed to this moment in time. I really feel that way, and it's something special because we all respect each other, support each other, prop each other up. If one of us needs volunteers for the table to help, get the word out about something, we're all first in line to help. And so we have the internal support, and then we have the leadership support. So our CEO and then our board, incredible board. And all of that is lined up in addition to compounding the important work that everybody who predated me did to instill the trust in United Way in Southeastern Idaho, and to build those partnerships and that relationship that we have with, our health partners, the hospital, Portneuf Medical, Health West, and it all has been building, I think, to this moment in time. So, I mean, I don't want to get overly confident about it, but at least from my experience, having been there a couple years now, it seems like we're finally getting to the point where people know who we are and what we do, and it's made things a lot easier. And then if we can get in with someone new for something like Day of Action, the volunteer day, and they experience it and they can touch it and they can feel it, then they become ambassadors for us because
once
get
they
it.
taste it. Once they get that feeling. I was talking, I recently just recorded a podcast, our last one, with one of our artists here. He's a music artist. And we were talking, once you get that, it was a business sense. Once you get a taste of success, you want it more. It's the same thing, I think, in being involved in the community and volunteering your time, and you get a taste of what that feels like, of helping others and putting others before you.
Yes.
And there's a bigger picture.
Yes.
I think people will really gravitate towards that.
Yeah. And I would really encourage any human, this happened to me as well. When you feel that lightness, when you feel that call to help, just don't ignore it. Just do it. Like, for example, I used to work at Idaho State University in marketing and communication, and I loved my job. It was an amazing, incredible job. I worked with incredible people. I loved the university there. And I started doing some volunteer work for United Way.
Is that how you got involved?
Yes.
Or met them?
Yes, it was completely serendipitous. So I started doing some volunteer work. They asked me to help with branding. Like, can you volunteer some hours to help us with a new logo for, XYZ initiative? And so I did, and I started spending a few hours, a week helping them out. And I remember stopping and thinking, oh my God, I feel so good. Like, I get chills even talking about it, because it stood out to me as like, wow, this feels like something that I am super, super happy about. And then some weeks went by. So I kept helping out until the project was done. And then some weeks went by and a job opened up, and I wasn't planning on necessarily applying, but someone sent it to me and said, hey, a lot of people at the university, can you help? And I did. And I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, this job looks incredible.
You're like,
this is incredible. And so even at the time I thought, well, what's the worst that could happen? Like, I already have a job that I love. Let me just apply. And then I ended up, going through the process and getting the job. And then I had to take a leap. Like, this is a new experience for me. I'm in it a couple years now and I love it. And I would never, ever think of doing anything else now. It's just like tailor-made for me. But I guess my point is that feeling of lightness that you get from giving back to your community. I felt that. And to be able to do that for my job is just like next level amazing.
How would you say, or where would you direct people if they wanted to get involved in their community? Let's talk about your community, Southeastern Idaho.
Yeah.
How would people get involved in what you do? How can people be supportive of your, United Way and the different projects that you guys have going on?
Yeah, I appreciate that question so much. So we have, really just like for our specific United Way, you visit the website. So it's unitedwaysei.org. And you can sign up to be a volunteer kind of just on command. So like if you wanted to do things with education, early learners, you could just sort of pick what you want to do. If you want to help out with other more hands-on approach, you can just decide what you want to do. If you want to do health initiatives, you can. So you can sign up there. And then in general, for our community, we have an amazing partner called Just Serve. It's part of the LDS community. And they do a wonderful job of outlining all of the volunteer projects that are available for the area. And so I would encourage anybody in any community really just to start Googling and seeing what the
volunteering near me or.
Yeah. And we're not unique, it'll look different in the different communities.
And there's United Ways down here as well.
Exactly. Yep. And that's honestly, like, thank you, Morgan. That's a really good point because wherever you are, there's a United Way for the most part.
It's worldwide.
Yeah.
Not just nation.
That's right.
It's like a worldwide
Correct.
organization. So.
It is. And so you can just search for your local United Way. And even if they're kind of far away, you can still contact them and say like, hey, I want to get involved in the community. How do I do this? And I guarantee they will help you.
Mm. Well, what is for you guys in Southeastern Idaho, what big things do you guys have coming up, or is there events coming up? Is there things that people should know about?
Yeah, definitely. So we have 3 years ago, we started a group called, it's an affinity group called Women United. And so it's an offshoot from our United Way specifically for women in need. And so it's made up of a group of women. Assistance. So like
any assistance.
Like
clothing,
domestic
housing, domestic violence.
All of it. Yep. So it's designed to help women who are going through sexual assault or domestic violence situations. And we have, certain nonprofits who help with those situations. And so this group of women in Women United, and we kind of, lead it, but they are the ones who are on the ground doing the work. So 3 years ago, that group started, and then we decided, let's do a fundraiser. What could we do? And the brilliant Wendy came up with the idea of
Wendy's always coming in clutch.
She's magic, man.
She is a special person.
She is someone you want on your team.
But I'm sorry, I digress. I interrupted you.
It's special. No, it's true. And so she came up with the idea of what if we did a murder mystery dinner, and all the proceeds go toward helping women in need. And so that's what the group of Women United volunteers and our United Way did. We put on a murder mystery, and it sold out the first year.
Wow.
Nothing sells out in Pocatello.
That's
There's just like, it just didn't. I was very surprised, especially for, anytime you do a new event. Like you said, with our Day of Action, 150 volunteers. It's a big deal for the first year.
That's big.
Yeah. And so now we're on the third year for our murder mystery dinner, and it's just getting bigger and better. We're doing a raffle for a trip.
When is that murder mystery dinner?
So it's October 22nd.
Oh, so it's like Halloween-y.
Yes. And the idea is like it's themed, right? Mm-hmm. So this year is pirate themed. Mm. And so the raffle for the trips will be, separate tickets, and we have a chance to raise a bunch of money for women in need. It'll go straight to the nonprofits who serve women who are in crisis.
And then what was the next thing that you were saying? Was it just the raffle that you were talking about?
Yeah, it was the murder mystery dinner is the thing that we have coming up.
That's the next big event that you have.
Yes. So the immediate most next one is we have our kickoff for our campaign. So
your campaign stuff goes out.
Yes. So September 5th, 14th, we're doing a big event where we have all of our partners and our nonprofit partners, and we have our donors and kind of the pace setters for donating to United Way for the upcoming campaign year. And we do a big pancake breakfast. There's even going to be
I've been to one of those.
Yeah, they're fun, right? A
couple of them.
Yeah, it's like high energy.
Great food.
Yeah, totally. We have, delicious breakfast, pancake dinner, and then there'll be, like a little presentation, and we're even going to have pancake relay race. So it's going to be exciting.
I'll link your stuff in our bio of this video and everything so people can see that.
Appreciate you.
The one last question that I'll ask, Ginny, is if you could tell the people of Southeastern Idaho anything about United Way, or if there's one thing that you could, get out there, what would you tell them?
Oh, yeah. I would probably tell them that, two things. I would make sure that they understand that United Way is a nonprofit, and 100% of your donation when you donate to United Way goes straight toward those nonprofits. Our overhead and our administration is actually paid for by generous corporate sponsors. So, we uniquely at our United Way can say 100% of your donation goes toward the nonprofits that are helping community members in need. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing would be there is no time like the present to get involved. I mean, kind of like what we were saying before.
You told me.
I know. I want to hit it home again.
I'm admonished here. I'm being admonished.
No, it's supposed to be inspiring, not
You're
admonishing.
You're inspiring.
Yes, I'm inspired.
I'm sorry. I missed my word.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, I think look up your local community, find out how you can get involved, and then, find out like your United Way and join and volunteer, and you're going to feel good. I promise you will.
Where can people find you and follow you at your United Way?
So we are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And we actually
And what's that name?
So it's United Way of Southeastern Idaho at each of them. So it's for Instagram, it's at UWSEI.
Okay.
And then you can find us on LinkedIn and Facebook. And then we actually just started a podcast.
Yeah, you did. You filmed your first one yesterday.
We did. We filmed our first one yesterday.
Well, you're going to put that on your website as well eventually, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they got to stay tuned to see that first one.
Yes.
Okay. Well, perfect. I really appreciate you being our guest today. We love United Way. Like we've talked about you guys so many times. I'll link all that in our bio. And so if you guys want to follow Ginny or United Way of Southeastern Idaho, click the link in the bio. But thank you for being my guest.
Thank you, Morgan.
I appreciate you. All right, guys, you can find our podcast, Apple Music, Spotify, obviously on YouTube. If you have questions for Ginny or United Way, feel free to reach out and I'll direct you in the right way. But thank you. And we drop these every Tuesday. Until next time, peace.